Hey, welcome. Let's jump right in with a big idea. What if just being a good person isn't actually enough? That's what we're digging into today, this whole concept of moving from what the source calls passive good to active good. This whole explainer really boils down to one huge question. And it's a question I bet you've asked yourself before. I know I have. Why does it so often feel like evil is winning when we're surrounded by so many good, decent people? So, to even begin to answer that, we've got to look at what happens when good people, well, do nothing. The source material has this really blunt way of putting it. When good people sleep, goodness itself goes to sleep, right along with them. And this is where it gets really provocative. Check out this quote. "Every passive good is an encourager of active evil." Wow. So suddenly, inaction isn't neutral anymore. The source is saying it's actually like throwing fuel on the fire of all the problems we see out there. Okay, so what's the actual difference here? The source lays it out super clearly. Passive good, that's all about you. It's being good for yourself, avoiding drama, staying quiet. But active good, that's totally different. It's focused outward. It's about being good for other people. It means stepping in, correcting what's wrong, speaking up, and actually working for change. So to make this real, to see what this actually looks like, the source gives us this incredible historical example. We're going to dive into what it calls the price of active goodness, and we'll see it through the story of how the Prophet Muhammad was seen by his own people and how that completely changed. Okay, so before his mission, Muhammad had this amazing reputation in Mecca. Everyone, even the people who would later become his biggest enemies, called him Al-Amin, the trustworthy one. He was that guy. The most respected, most reliable person in the entire city. A perfect picture of that passive good we were talking about, someone everyone loved. And then, everything flipped. A divine command came through. Just two simple words, rise and warn. And those two words, according to the source, were it. That was the call to go from just being a good person to actively, publicly challenging everything. And here's where you really see the cost. The same people who called him the trustworthy suddenly had a new name for him. Al-Majnoon, the madman. Can you imagine? He went from being the most loved person in town to being ridiculed and attacked. So what changed? Seriously, he was the exact same guy. Same character, same integrity. That's the big question here, right? And the answer is so simple, but it's huge. The passive good became the active good. That's it. He didn't just be trustworthy anymore. He started using that trustworthiness to confront injustice. And that was the change that cost him everything, at least in the eyes of his society. So this idea, this split between your own personal goodness and taking action for society, it's actually part of a deeper framework in the source. So let's get into that. We're going to look at what are called the two kinds of good deeds, which comes from this Quranic way of seeing things. All right, so the source gives us two really important terms. First, you have hasanat. Think of these as your personal good deeds, things like prayer, where you are the main one who benefits. But then you have salihat, and these are a whole different ballgame. These are the active, society-fixing deeds. Speaking out against something wrong, that's a salihat. The beneficiary isn't just you, it's everyone. And the reward for that, it's described as basically unlimited. Okay, so we get the what and the why of this whole thing, but how do you actually do it? How do you make that leap? Well, the source actually gives us a practical toolkit for this, something it calls the 3A formula for action. And it's a really cool, easy to remember framework. It all starts with the first A, ishq. This is a deep, driving love or passion for something. It's the spark. That passion then fuels the second A, adan mashlek. This is dedication, like real, unwavering commitment to see it through. And that leads to the final A, adiyat. This is a powerful sense of belonging, of responsibility to the cause and to the people involved. Here's a great way to think about it. Love, ashq, that's your engine. It's what gets you started. Dedication, adan mushlak, that's the fuel in the tank. It keeps you going when things get hard. And belonging, idiyat, that's your direction. It's your compass, telling you where you're going and why. All right, now let's zoom way, way out, like cosmic level out. The source wraps this all up with a really powerful argument by looking at the entire universe. And the point it makes is that for a human to be passive, well, that's just plain weird in the grand scheme of things. And this is a pretty mind-blowing perspective. The source points out that from the tiniest atom to the biggest galaxy, everything is in motion. Atoms are buzzing, planets are spinning, stars are burning. The entire universe is active. And in this giant active system, the only thing that's just sitting there is the passive human. We're the only ones who are out of sync. And that brings us to this really stark, really powerful line from the source. To be inert is to be waste. Just think about that. The idea is that in a universe where everything is moving and has a purpose, doing nothing isn't just a shame. It's like being cosmic trash. It's being a waste product. So that leaves us with one final question. And it's a question that turns this whole thing right back around to you, to me, to all of us. In a universe where every single atom is active, where everything is in motion, what are you going to choose to be?